Have you ever noticed how easy it can be to say no? It doesn't necessarily matter what it is to say no to new technology, or to say no to a political campaign, to say no to new development, to say no to a new experience that we haven't done before. You can substitute your own examples. There's a advertising campaign that's currently in heavy rotation online, and it's for a outdoor gear retailer, and it's a series of situations in which a person is making all kinds of excuses why they can't. I don't have the right clothes, the forecast is for rain, I don't have this isn't convenient. And the bottom line is, the answer is no. And it makes me think of this time in the stepping stone period of time in my older daughter's life, in which she was leaving the nest and she was going out into the world. And I tried to think of some kind of profound piece of advice that I could give her as she was spreading her wings and preparing to be independent. And the thing I came up with was, you're in a stage of life where there are numerous new possibilities that are in front of you. So when something comes to you, unless it is immoral or illegal, say yes. Doesn't matter what it is. If there's an opportunity that you are presented with, hey, you want to try this, hey, you want to go here, hey, you want to do this, say yes. Because that's how you spread your ability to kind of be exposed to a lot of different things. And I'm thinking about this dichotomy of the instinct that some of us seem to feel when confronted with something to say no, versus the possibility of saying yes, when the beginning of our gospel passage starts with these two situations about rejection. And it may seem a little bit obscure, the first example, talking about children sitting in the marketplaces and calling to one another, we played the flute for you and you did not dance, we wailed and you did not mourn. These are children's games. So one is playing weddings. Kids do that sometimes. I'm going to get married and I'm going to be like this and I'm going to be like that, and imagine what it might be like. And the idea of playing the flute is this celebratory gesture, and the response came back, no, I don't want to. So then they played funerals. That's a bummer. But that was the very opposite. Okay, you don't want to play weddings? Okay, we'll play funerals. We wailed and you did not mourn. And it's kind of like that old story where two people are trying to decide where they want to go out to dinner. And so the one person says, well, what about Thai food? No, I don't feel like Thai food. Okay, well, what about Mexican? Oh, we had Mexican 2 days ago. Well, all right, okay. What about barbecue? No, barbecue's too heavy. I don't really want that. Well, fine, what do you want? I'm giving you all kinds of ideas, and the answer is no, 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 no. So we have the second example. John the Baptist, this one who you may remember had a rather severe and ascetic reputation. John came neither eating or drinking, and they say he has a demon. He's this weirdo. He's possessed. He doesn't fit in with the other people. All right, fine. The Son of Man, Jesus, came eating and drinking, and they say, look, a glutton and a drunkard. Well, what do you want? The answer is just no. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. What do you like? What do you want? And so the rest of this story goes on, and it talks about things being revealed to not the wise, but to infants, that's interesting in and of itself. And we could go in a whole direction with the fairness or unfairness of that kind of setup, but this is in the mix. And then it says, "Come to me, all ye that are weary and carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart." These are offerings to be accepted or rejected. Okay. What do you want? What would you say yes to? And in our first reading, we heard this wonderful reflection on human nature that has a theological overtone to it. And Paul is starting off saying, "I do not understand my own actions." And I wonder if you've ever felt that way. I wonder if you've ever been in a situation where there was something that you intended, something that you wanted, something that you hoped for, and you went in exactly the opposite direction. "For I do not do what I want, but I do the very thing that I hate." Oh, and the end of it, "Wretched man that I am." This is somebody who is in anguish, who's struggling with this inner conflict that he comes to understand as the presence of sinfulness versus the reality of grace. But I think they're connected. I think they're connected to the reality that sometimes we get caught up in of just saying no versus the circumstances that would incline us to say yes. And the journey of faith is one in which many, many things are offered, but nothing is compelled. So the way that we have come to understand the character of God is that God extends this open invitation with arms wide and says, "Do you want to?" And then we say whatever we say. And that's a wonderful gesture of love, because as we know from less healthy relationships, love can never be compelled. Those who would attempt to force upon someone else what they should do or who they should be, we often call abusive. And so God doesn't play that game. God doesn't say, "You will do this, you must do this, you have to do this, or else." There are some who have come to understand the character of God in a kind of punitive way, and we talked about that last week. But the true nature of God is saying, "Do you want to?" And then we say, "Nah, but thanks." Or we say, "Yeah, I do. Here I am." And God locates that freedom of relationship to be close to God with you and me. So what do? What is sufficient in order to motivate us, to stir our spirits in order to say yes? What allows us to be able to push through those places that are inclined to say no, those places that Paul struggles with in saying, "I do the very thing that I don't want to do," and walk into that open embrace? And one of the things I think that we realize over the course of life is that our chances are much better of being able to accept an invitation, of being able to do the thing that we want to do when we are not alone. How many times have you been in a situation where you were going to go to the gym or go out for a jog or go swimming or do something physical and nobody else was going to do it with you, and it was just you, and it was just easier to say, "Nah, I don't feel like it." Or you were going to embark on a new project or a goal. Maybe it was to clean out the basement or the garage, or maybe it was something more exciting than that. But nobody was forcing you to do it, and there was no deadline, and there was a movie on TV, and instead you were like, "Yeah, I think I'm going to watch that instead." And what we've come to know is that being with others in things that are worthwhile is a powerful incentive. And so when you have a buddy that you're going to go to the gym with, or you have somebody who's going to come over and help you clean out the basement, or you use your example of the thing that matters when someone else is alongside of you to do it, it's much more likely to happen. And the parallel to the journey of faith is that while oftentimes it may seem as though we're pursuing this relationship with God solo, that the various different practices of piety are the things that can draw God closer to us. And so things like prayer are not check boxes in order to satisfy so that we can say, oh, I did my piety today. They are ways of inviting God to interact with us when we put ourselves in a position to be able to be present to the voice of God speaking, to the Spirit of God leading and strengthening and motivating us. Things like reading Scripture, even if you do it on your own, are disciplines that open up possibilities for discovering the wisdom and the motivation that is available to us in our lives through discovering what the stories were of others' lives in relationship with God in the past. Things like being in Christian fellowship together with other people, as opposed to worshiping on our own in some solo pursuit, make a difference because we are able to feel that same energy of others who are on the journey with us. And so this encounter with God is something that is intended to evoke relationship, evoke a sense of empowerment that we can do not alone on our own strength, but that we can draw the strength of God to be with us. But the very first step to being able to do that is saying yes. Saying, yeah, I understand the invitation has been extended to me, and I understand, God, that it is up to me to respond. That you're not going to do it for me, because that's not how love works. Love works by saying, I care for you. Now, what do you want out of the relationship? And so the end of the gospel passage in which Jesus says, come to me if you are weary and carrying a heavy burden. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, for you will find rest from your souls. This is not an invitation to escape, but instead an invitation to go deeper. An invitation for us to say, yes, I will come to you. Yes, I will learn from you. Yes, I will draw strength from the journey that you have gone before and invited me to follow in your example. And it is so much of a blessing when we are able to be around other people who are in the habit of saying yes. Other people who say, guess what I learned this week? Other people who say, guess what goal I achieved? Other people who say, guess what pursuit I'm embarking on? Those are people that are exciting to be around. People who are saying, there is a purpose to my days. There is progress that I am striving to make. There is growth that I am experiencing. That is the antithesis of no. And in the journey of faith, there are numerous examples of people who have taken that leap, that step out, not knowing that they could control the outcome, but instead knowing that they were putting their lives into the hand of God and that that is a good place to be. because in all likelihood, whatever happens in the hand of God is going to be something worth experiencing. So in this week to come, I invite you to reflect on how often you say no and how often you say yes, and what the things are in your life that are most valuable and worth saying yes to, and to fully put yourself in a place in which those yeses can enliven you and can open up possibilities for accomplishment and for fulfillment and for wholeness of life, especially in the company of God. Amen.